Luizos Papadopoulos, for those who don't know me, and I am the winemaker and owner of Molon, Lave Vineyards. I want to start by thanking all of our friends from Molon, Lave attending the cruise, our new friends with our friendly wineries attending as well, Expedia that organized all this, and Uniworld and their crew for making this possible and giving us very nice service. Also want to thank Rapanic Cellars and their owners, John and Mary, and Philip Strother with Philip and Danielle. So, a little bit about us and to introduce the winery as well. We are from Greece. My wife Alexandra is here as well tonight, and migrated to the US in 1984. I am fifth generation jeweler, goldsmith, and we opened a business in 1984 in the outskirts of Washington, D.C., in Fairfax County, Oakton. We've had our business there for the past 39 years. And going back a little bit to explain the affiliation and the interest in the wine industry. In the early 1970s, while still in Athens, in Greece, we bought a farm outside the ancient city of Corinth. For those who don't know, Corinth is a city about 50 miles southwest of Athens in the Peloponnese. It has ideal climate for olive orchards, oranges, lemons, and of course vines, grapevines. Actually, a lot of the production of lemons and oranges ended up in Germany back before we were in the EU. Greece was in the EU, and also today. So we bought the farm there. There's three wine regions in Greece. One is the region of Nemea, which was 15 miles from where our farm was. The second one was in Nausa, and that's up in northern Greece. And the third one might be a surprise, but you would probably know it a little bit better than anywhere else, is Santorini. So another reason people know Nemea, that region, is in the mythical years, hero Hercules fought and killed a lion that was one of his first heroic acts, and he found, legend has it that he found that the grounds there were very good for growing red grapes, and he made wine. This was around the 5th century BC. And now everybody has kind of adopted, the locals there, the term for red wines they produce there, that they're the blood of Hercules. Going forward now, we're back in the States. Our sister winery, Mediterranean Cellars, property that my parents bought in Warrenton, Virginia in 1989. At that time, we were all working together at the jewelry store. It's a family business. And when they retired in 1999, we planted our first vineyard at their location, where today stands our sister winery, Mediterranean Cellars. I don't know if anybody's been there or not. Whoever hasn't, it's kind of has its own unique characteristics worthwhile going to. 2003, we bought the second property where Molon Lave is currently, and planted our first vines. In 2009, we opened the doors to our visitors and start selling wine out of Molon Lave. A little bit about the name Molon Lave. It has to do with an ancient Greek phrase spoken by King Leonidas at the Battle of Thermopylae. I don't know how many folks are familiar with it. There's been a movie made that's pretty popular in the States as well. So, there were 300 Spartans surrounded by Persian troops of about 150 or 160,000 in a small protected area that had one little opening, and as the Persians were coming through, they were being slaughtered. At some point in time, Xerxes, their king, offered to try to frighten King Leonidas by saying, "I have so many archers that if they shoot their arrows, they will cover the sun."
Blacken the sky.
Yeah. Leonidas said, "We like that because we prefer fighting under shade." After a day or two, when he saw that he wasn't getting anywhere, actually there was a traitor that showed the Persians the way to surround the Spartans. Leonidas said, Xerxes told Leonidas that we're surrounding you, and you drop your weapons. And Leonidas knew what was coming up, but he said, "Molon Lave," which means "come and get them." So it was a phrase of defiance, a way of an outlook of life, their own way. I thought it was neat. It was cool. We are from Greece. I always thought I would make a license plate out of it. I'm glad that I didn't. It would have cheapened the whole thing. And we ended up using it for our winery. Our winery, as well as Rappahannock Cellars and Philip Carter, were all located about an hour more or less from DC. It's a great spot to be, considering that I think only us in Loudoun County is close to DC. And DC is the greatest, or the biggest metropolitan area in the country, if I'm not mistaken, as far as per capita consumption of wine.
It's all our fault.
So I'm glad that we're all part of it. We appreciate that. So a little bit more. Our property is on 50 acres, as I said before. We have 2 tasting rooms that are open to the public. We have a large barrel room. It's about 3,000 square feet that we use for bigger events, some of them being weddings and private parties and so forth. We have a 4,000 square foot cellar that we're adding another 3 square feet as we speak. An 8,000 square foot pavilion, again for those who haven't been on the property. And we grow Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Chardonnay, let me see if I get them all, Chamberson that you had yesterday, Petit Verdot, Viognier, Chardonnay, I said Chardonnay, didn't I? Yeah. Riesling, yes. Petit Verdot, I said as
yes.
Well. I'm repeating myself. I'm trying to think plots. Yeah, Seyval and Muscat. I'm sure I've missed 1 or 2, but that's pretty much the gist of it. We make small batches of wine. We currently have between 17 and 20 different labels, but all of our wines are no more than 2 to 300 cases. So they're handcrafted wines and approached in a different way. I'm the winemaker. A good example of our approach to wines and varietals they represent Virginia is our Chamberson, which you had yesterday. Not a very well-known grape. We make three different. We do it in 3 different ways. We do it in the red that you tried yesterday. We have a bold rosé, which has more characteristics of red wine, but it is treated as a white. So we crush and press off with no skin contact and no seeds. And thirdly, our dessert wine, port style, Ariadne, 75% Chamberson and 25% Cabernet Sauvignon, with an alcohol content of, yes, yeah, it'll be interesting. So, am I missing anything here? Kosher wines. Kosher wines.
Oh, yes.
We also do we try to experiment with different styles of wines here in the States. One of them is who's familiar with Retsina wine? Retsina. It's a Greek style wine that is that's flavored by pine resin. There's people that love it and hate it. Therefore, we made 2 versions of it. One is for the fanatics that really like the Greek strong flavored one, and then one it's lighter, so it has a hint of it, but it's not very strong. And we have Mediterranean, our other winery, has the actual Retsina, which is white. We have a variant of it. It's called Cochinelli, and it's a rosé. And the approach is pretty much the same as the Katie's Charm, but also has some Vidalin. And you introduce the resin, the pine resin, during fermentation, and you control how long or not you want it to stay in to flavor the wine. There's a story behind this. In ancient Greece, there's three explanations, 3 excuses for them making the Retsina. One was there were a lot of swamps back then in Athens, and they found out that pine resin flavor repelled mosquitoes. The second one was they liked the flavor, and the third one is more than likely the correct version of this, is that they shipped a lot of wine on at the Mediterranean Sea. This is also a local wine to Athens, to the Athens region only. And they used to use amphora vases and seal them on the top with the resin. As the ship moved, the resin flavor got introduced into the wine, and people kind of liked it. After a while, got used to it, whatever. Today, it had fallen out of favor, even in Greece, for the past 20 years, because of how potent the flavor was. So they backed off, and they're making it lighter. Like I said, you will find it in specific places in Greece, taverns mostly, that do lamb chops, goat chops, and on the grill, French fries and Greek salads. That's their menu, nothing else. And if you don't like it under those circumstances, you're never gonna like it. We grew up with it, so it's kind of fun, and I enjoy that. Going back to our jewelry business, we started 40 years ago. We have a lot of association with New York. There's a lot of Jewish businessmen and women and firms there that we deal with on a wholesale level. And when they found out that we were opening a winery, they jokingly said, okay, we need to make kosher wine so we can drink it too. And we laughed it off. And then 2 years later, they came with a proposition, said, let's do it. If you're not of the Jewish faith, it would be very difficult, if not impossible, to be accredited to make that wine. There's agencies or agents that that supervise all this. One of probably the most known one would be the OU. It's a stamp that you'll see in a lot of products, including Coca-Cola, cereals, and what it does, it ensures that the product does not come into contact with, for instance, if you're making butter, it doesn't come into contact by mistake with lard from pork, which is a no-no. So anyway, we came to an understanding. They visited with us, interviewed us. Our manager of production is our friend Avi Jacobowicz. He's a diamond cutter, and he's the one who manages and orchestrates everything. Not to bore you with too many details, the way it works is we bring the grapes from the vineyard, drop it off in our crush pad, and then they take over. So the rabbi and his team comes over.
All observant.
All observe, yeah. And we observe, but they're hands-on. We're not allowed to touch the wine till it's in the bottle.
And they have to go to Shabbos every Saturday.
Every Saturday.
Yes.
Again, I don't want to bore people too much, but it has to do mostly with supervision and with separation. So the product has to be separate from everything else. And two wines, both you will have tonight, our Cabernet Sauvignon and our Chardonnay over there, are both kosher wines. And those are the only two that we have. In order not to compete with them, whatever else we come up with, it's not them, it's still our wines, our label. But in order not to compete one label to the other, that's why when we had dedication yesterday, it's not of the same batch. That one was handled by them with our supervision and told them what to do. This one is handled by us from day one. Am I forgetting anything? Any questions from anybody?
To note, it's delicious. If you're not Jewish, and you have Jewish friends and you're invited to a Seder, you will be a hit. This is not Manischewitz. And you leave the door open, Elijah will be there.
Another cool factor is that we're the only winery in Virginia that produce kosher wines, and we're the only farm winery, not commercial winery, on the East Coast that produces kosher wine. So it was fun and educational for us because we got to be exposed to a different culture and faith, and got to meet a lot of people through it. We're both from the same part of the world originally, and that was kind of neat. I think that's about it from me. Now, I know we all want to have some wine. It is said in the industry that wine tastes better with good food, good friends. We will have the good food later. We're in good company now. But I'm going to add to it that it's nice to have a pretty lady that make the announcement and the breakdown of each wine while they're being poured. So I'm going to introduce my wife, Alex Papadopoulos.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for attending. This is such a lovely gathering in a beautiful place among amazing surroundings. I told my daughters